Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Michael Fillios, founder and CEO of IT Ally and a CDO editorial board member. And we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Nick Chaillan, former U.S. Air Force and U.S. Space Force Chief Software Officer and CTO Prevent Breach. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. So excited.
Awesome. Well, let's dive right in. I know you have a very impressive career as in technology leadership and a host of other areas. Tell us a little bit more about your background and what motivated you and inspired your interest in technology and security.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, actually, I started pretty young. I started coding. I was 7 back in France, as you can tell with my French accent. I moved here about 12 years ago to the US and became a citizen about 6 years ago. I'm 38 now, so I started my first company back in France. I was 15. I was, the youngest French entrepreneur. Grew it to 12 countries, from Dubai to Latin America to 7 countries in Europe, and then the US and Canada. And so then, we started innovating a lot in software and cyber. And so I ended up funding 12 companies. And then when the ISIS attacks started happening back, 6 years ago, I wanted to make a difference. And so I thought, hey, enough with the mobile apps and the cool innovation stuff. Let's see how we can take some of my skills in cyber and apply it to national security. So I joined DHS, where I was the special advisor for cyber and the chief architect, and I kind of push all the innovation around zero trust back then. And then I got a call to say, hey, do you want to join the DoD to build the DevSecOps, digital transformation innovation team? And so I became the first chief software officer. And so that was a 3-year pretty incredible ride, and now I'm back on the commercial side.
Well, I know we're talking about data today because of the audience, but I think there's another conversation to be had just on your entrepreneurial background with the 12 companies. and it's kind of unusual, I think, to go into government. You just don't see a lot of entrepreneurs doing that. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about that experience in government with the DoD and the Air and Space Force, and how that differs from the private sector as an entrepreneur and CTO. And I think our audience would be quite intrigued about your responses here.
Obviously, it's a very different universe, and kind of the mind-boggling change when you move from a smaller size startup as the CEO and founder, and then you move to a universe of bureaucracy, with the largest behemoth that is the DoD, and so it's been a massive, lessons learned for me and kind of awesome experience. At the same time, it's kind of been, the most exciting and at the same time, the most frustrating experience in my life. It's kind of interesting to compare, right? Because, you obviously have a lot of stress when you're an entrepreneur and a CEO having to pay, salaries of all these people. But at the same time, you're in control and you can get stuff done, and, you can only blame yourself at the end of the day, right? But, when you go into a larger team like this, and obviously 4 million people, now 810 billion of funding a year, and the software budget that we had is about 60 billion, 100,000 people. So you can imagine the size of a team like this is pretty mind-boggling. You can imagine also kind of the silos and the challenges when it comes to getting things done. At the same time, it's interesting because when you end up leaving the department, there is no mission that is so important and exciting, to make sure our kids have a fighting chance, in 20 years against China, for example. And so it's been, at the same time, an honor, to serve the nation, but also, I cannot find now any kind of engagement that's as exciting and thrilling, than dealing with jets and bombers and space systems and nukes, and it's just a very different universe. And so obviously the space universe is booming, and that's pretty exciting. But when you start talking about lives of the warfighter and making sure we give them the best tools to go fight for our freedom and ready for the world, this is a very special opportunity. And so I think, people that debate whether or not to do it, I think they should. And I think it's pretty healthy to not stay too long, because I think you can easily become part of the problem. I started feeling that I was getting used to the lack of velocity of DoD, and so I was getting used to the slower pace, and so you kind of become part of the problem when you fail to recognize that that it's maybe time to go back to the commercial side. I always joke that if we were to take many of the Pentagon leaders for 2 weeks at SpaceX, their heads would implode because of the velocity of work over there.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to think about it. And I had some experience working with Northrop Grumman as a client years ago. And I saw examples of what you described, where they almost became the culture of the DoD, and how that changes you because you're so embedded with that environment. So I can see that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about those elements, particularly in light of today's situation with the Ukraine and the world events happening around us. But then you take that entrepreneurial experience, and you also were pioneering some new ideas like DevSecOps to the government. It's almost an oxymoron. So when you think about it, so bringing that sort of capability, if you will, progressive capability to the DoD, what was that like? And maybe you can just describe for our audience the difference between DevOps and DevSecOps, and some of the challenges that you face in doing this in the government, in a government agency.
Yeah, so DevOps is a massive enabler. First, we saved 100 years of time with 27 of the largest DoD programs by moving to DevSecOps, and that's a massive amount of time saved in 1 year. It compounds obviously over time, and it enables you to compete. When you look at DevOps, removing the silos and barriers between your development teams and your operation teams, and being able to deliver software incrementally multiple times a day, and really see what sticks, see what works, see what can be improved, see where to focus, see kind of the return on investment rapidly, and really the features that your end users are demanding and consuming is so essential to make sure you're not wasting time. So, fail fast, learn fast, but don't fail twice for the same reason. So that's obviously a very foundational concept. But then when you move to DevSecOps, it's kind of an evolution of DevOps to really start thinking baked in security. And I'm not just talking, hey, we're going to do some scanning of our software with some static analysis scanning tool. We're talking really the fact that the DevSecOps platform is not just a development capability. It's going to be running in production. So for us, it is a weapon system to run on the weapon, to orchestrate the entire stack of software you're going to be running, but also abstract and augment your cyber capabilities so they are injected across your entire stack. And so the baked-in security we're talking about is piggybacking on three critical cyber principles. The first one is what we call moving target defense, which is the concept of being ephemeral, which effectively means we use kind of another anecdote of cattle versus pet, right? So effectively we think of software as being ephemeral, and you go behind the barn and you shoot it every 4 hours to go back to immutable state. So effectively, anything that the malicious actor would be doing would be lost every 4 hours. So we do a lot of things like that to kind of mitigate the ability of a malicious actor not only to get access to your stack, but then to retain access to your environment. And also, we have the second principle of zero trust, which effectively, is a denial principle where you have to whitelist access based on very well-defined policies. And the concept there is to prevent a malicious actor that would be getting access to a piece of your system to be able to laterally move to your crown jewels. So by limiting, what the malicious actor can have access to. So that's kind of the second pillar of modern cyber defense. And the third pillar is about the continuous monitoring with behavior AI ML driven prevention. So we look at the desired state of the system, we look at the normal behavior of the system, and if we see the system starting to do things it's never done before, then there's something going on, and you go back and you kill the capability that's misbehaving, and you go back to immutable state like we do every 4 hours anyways, to be able to enforce the desired state again. And so the malicious actor will be losing everything they've done for the last 4 hours. So it makes it very difficult to retain access to your resources, but also then to laterally move to your crown jewels.
I love the analogy you brought up as a weapon system, right? And especially in the context of talking about this to the DoD, right? So this is going to resonate. Yes. A lot of what you're describing is highly technical and sophisticated, but at the same time, you're presenting it in a way I think that's shouldn't be understated, in the way that they're going to understand why it's important too, right? And relating it to them. And I think that's always a difficult thing for technology leaders to do, whether you're in government or in Fortune 500, being able to describe these highly sophisticated techniques in a way that they're going to understand them and embrace them. I love the three components.
Yeah, it's probably 90% of the battle.
Well, I think that's a great place to end on Nick. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your insights. I'm sure our audience is going to pick lots of golden nuggets out of this conversation today. And really thank you for taking time to join us today. And to learn more about CDO Magazine, please visit cdomagazine.tech. And thanks again, Nick, for your time. And you'll be seeing the output of this interview here shortly.
Thanks for having me.